actually regularly scheduled programming. We're back in the house. We're back in our seat again, you know? We're back in our seat again, chat. Welcome back to another stream of the 1 Year Bible. Ooh. Of the 1 Year Bible. This is day 127 in a row. Day 127 in a row, chat. Today we're going to be reading from May the 6th because we're 2 days early. We haven't said that in a while, huh? Right, but we're 2 days early, right, chat? Because we started 2 days early. What's up? What's up, Mr. Call? What's up, basketball? How you doing, bro? Tonight's word is coming from... it's coming from Ruth 2:1-4, going through verse 22. We're going to follow up Ruth, right, with John 4:43-54. Following up John with Psalms 105:16-36. And we're going to wrap up tonight's read with Proverbs 14:26-27. Hey, welcome back to the spot. We're back in our spot now. Welcome back to the spot. Welcome back to the chair. Welcome back to the 1 Year Bible read. And without further ado, let's get into tonight's read for tonight. So coming out of Ruth 2:1-4, going through verse 22, and it goes like this, chat. So, now there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. One day, Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go out into the harvest fields to pick up the stalks of grain, left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it." Naomi replied, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." And so Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters. And as it happened, she found herself working in the field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law Elimelech. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you," the harvesters replied. Then Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is that young woman over there? Who does she belong to?" And the foreman replied, "She is a young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She asked me this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes rest in the shelter." Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields, and stay right behind the young women working in my field. See which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly, and when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drawn from the well." Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. "What have I done to deserve such kindness?" she asked. "I am only a foreigner." "Yes, I know," Boaz replied, "but I also know about everything you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come, take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done." "I hope I continue to please you, sir," she replied. "You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, and even though I am not one of your workers." At mealtime, Boaz called to her, "Come over here and help yourself to some food. You can dip your bread in the sour wine." So she sat with his harvesters, and Boaz gave her some roasted grain to eat. She ate all she wanted and still had some left over. When Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some heads of barley from the bundles and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up and don't give her a hard time." So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that evening, it filled an entire basket. She carried it back into town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her roasted grain that was left over from her meal. "Where did you gather all this grain today?" Naomi asked. "Where did you work?" "May the Lord bless the one who helped you." So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in whose field she had worked. She said, "The man I worked with today is named Boaz." "May the Lord bless him," Naomi told her daughter-in-law. "He has shown his kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. That man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers." Then Ruth said, "What's more, Boaz even told me to come back and stay with his harvesters until the entire harvest is completed." "Good," Naomi exclaimed. "Do as he said, my daughter. Stay with these young women right through the whole harvest. You might be harassed in other fields, but you'll be safe with him." So Ruth, that'll be, I appreciate the chat. That's a cool chat. Hey, what's up, Abrano? That's pretty funny. So Ruth worked alongside the women in Boaz's fields and gathered grain with them until the end of the barley harvest. Then she continued working with them through the wheat harvest in early summer, and all the while she lived with her mother-in-law. One day Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, it's time that I found a permanent home for you, so that you will be provided for." Boaz is a close relative of ours, and has been very kind by letting you gather grain with his young women. Tonight he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor. Now do as I tell you. Take a bath and put on perfume and dress in your nicest clothes. Then go to the threshing floor, but don't let Boaz see you until he has finished eating and drinking. Be sure to notice where he lies down. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down there. He will tell you what to do. I will do everything you say, Ruth replied. So she went down to the threshing floor that night and followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. After Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he lay down at the far end of the pile of grain and went to sleep. Then Ruth came quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over. He was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," Boaz exclaimed. "You are showing even more family loyalty now than you did before, for you have not gone after a younger man, whether rich or poor. Now don't worry about a thing, my daughter. I will do what is necessary, for everyone in town knows you are a virtuous woman. But while it's true that I am one of your family's redeemers, there is another man who is more closely related to you than I am. So stay here tonight, and in the morning I will take you to him. If he is willing to redeem you, very well, let him marry you. But if he is not willing, then as surely as the Lord lives, I will redeem you myself. Now lie down here until morning." So Ruth lay at Boaz's feet until the morning, but she got up before it was light enough for people to recognize each other. For Boaz had said, "No one must know that a woman was here at the threshing floor." Then Boaz said to her, "Bring your cloak and spread it out." He measured 6 scoops of barley into the cloak and placed it on her back. Then he returned to the town. Then when Ruth went back to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "What happened, my daughter?" Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had done for her, and she added, "He gave me these 6 scoops of barley and said, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said to her, "Just be patient, my daughter. Until we hear what happens, the men won't rest until they settle things today." Boaz went to the town gate and took a seat there. Just then the family redeemer he had mentioned came by, so Boaz called out to him, "Come over here and sit down, my friend. I want to talk to you." So they sat down together. Then Boaz called 10 leaders from the town and asked them to sit as witnesses. And Boaz said to the family redeemer, "You know Naomi, who came back from Moab. She is selling the land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should speak to you about it so you could redeem it if you wish. If you want the land, then buy it here in the presence of these witnesses. But if you don't want it, let me know right away, because I am next in line to redeem it after you." The man replied, "All right, I'll redeem it." Then Boaz told him, "Of course, your purchase of the land from Naomi also requires that you marry Ruth, the Moabite widow. That way she can have children who will carry on her husband's name and keep the land in the family." "Then I can't redeem it," the family redeemer replied, "because this might endanger my own estate. You redeem the land, I cannot do it." Now in those days it was custom in Israel for anyone transferring a right of purchase to remove his sandal and hand it to the other party. This publicly validated the transaction. So the other family redeemer drew off his sandal as he said to Boaz, "You buy the land." Then Boaz said to the elders and the crowd standing around, "You are witnesses that today I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. And with the land I have acquired Ruth, the Moabite widow of Mahlon, to be my wife. This way she can have a son and to carry on the family name of her dead husband and to inherit the family property here in his hometown. You are all witnesses today." Then the elders of all the people standing at the gate replied, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make this woman who is coming into our home, like Rachel and Leah, from whom all the nation of Israel descended. May you prosper in Euphrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And may the Lord give you descendants by this young woman, who will be like those of our ancestor Perez, the son of Tamar in Judah." So Boaz took Ruth into his home, and she became his wife. When he slept with her, the Lord enabled her to become pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. Then the women of the town said to Naomi, "Praise the Lord, who has provided a redeemer for your family. May this child be famous in Israel. May he restore your youth and care for you in your old age. For he is the son of your daughters-in-law, who loves you and has been better to you than 7 sons." Naomi took the baby and cuddled him to her breast, and she cared for him as if it were her own. The neighbor woman said, "Now at last Naomi has a son again," and they named him Obed. He became the father of Jesse and the grandfather of David. This is the genealogical record of their ancestor Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram was the father of Amminadab. Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Solomon. Solomon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. And Obed was the father of Jesse. And Jesse was the father of David. How you doing, Drex? And now let's get into John 4:43 through 54. Sorry about the choppy reading today, chat. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm not used to this. Maybe I'm used to reading everywhere else now. At the end of 2 days, Jesus went on to Galilee. He himself had said that a prophet is not honored in his hometown. Yet the Galileans welcomed him, for they had been in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration and had seen everything he did there. As he traveled through Galilee, he came to Cana, where he had turned the water into wine. There was a government official in nearby Capernaum whose son was very sick. When he heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged Jesus to come to Capernaum to heal his son, who was about to die. Jesus asked, "Will you never believe in me unless you see miraculous signs and wonders?" The official pleaded, "Lord, please come now before my little boy dies." Then Jesus told him, "Go back home, your son will live." And the man believed what Jesus said and started home. While the man was on his way, some of his servants met him with the news that his son was alive and well. He asked them when the boy had begun to get better, and they replied, "Yesterday afternoon, at 1 o'clock, his fever suddenly disappeared." Then the father realized that was the very time Jesus had told him, "Your son will live." And he and his entire household believed in Jesus. This was the second miraculous sign Jesus did in Galilee after coming from Judea. Now, chat, we're going to hop into Psalms 105, 16 to 36. So it goes like this. He, the Lord, called for a famine on the land of Canaan, cutting off his food supply. Then he sent someone to Egypt ahead of them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. They bruised his feet with fetters and placed his neck in an iron collar. Until the time came to fulfill his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character. Then Pharaoh sent for him and set him free. The ruler of the nation opened his prison door, and Joseph was put in charge of all the king's household. He became ruler over all the king's possessions. He could instruct the king's aides as he pleased, and teach the king's advisors. Then Israel arrived in Egypt. Jacob lived as a foreigner in the land of Ham. And the Lord multiplied the people of Israel until they became too mighty for their enemies. Then he turned the Egyptians against the Israelites, and they plotted against the Lord's servants. But the Lord sent his servant Moses. The Lord sent his servant Moses, along with Aaron, whom he had chosen. They performed miraculous signs among the Egyptians and wonders in the land of Ham. The Lord blanketed Egypt in darkness, for they had defied his commands to let his people go. He turned the water into blood, poisoning all the fish. Then frogs overran the land and invaded the king's bedrooms. When the Lord spoke, flies descended on the Egyptians, and gnats swarmed across Egypt. He sent them hail instead of rain, and lightning flashed over the land. He ruined their grapevines and fig trees, and shattered all the trees. He spoke, and hordes of locusts came, young locusts beyond number. They ate up everything green in the land, destroying all the crops in their fields. Then he killed the oldest son in each Egyptian home, the pride and joy of each family. And now, Proverbs 14, 26 to 27. Those who fear the Lord are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. Fear of the Lord is like a life-giving fountain. It offers escape from the snares of death. And now, The end of our read tonight will come from here, redemptive relationship. It's called this, redemptive relationship. Okay. So redemptive relationship. Boaz was the family redeemer. He was kind and provided for Ruth and Naomi and saved them from poverty, and all sorts of other trouble. That is what a redeemer does. He saves people from horrible things. He does not bring additional pain and suffering. Some women have never been in a redemptive relationship. Perhaps a father was cruel. She dates and marries a cruel man because that is the only kind of man she knows. As men, we can be redemptive like Boaz and reflect God's sacrificial, selfless love too. And now, chat, that is the end of today's One Year Bible Read. And give me 1 second. I'm about to turn this camera off. Ask for clarity, wisdom, and discernment on today's word. And I'll be right back. Okay. Oh, not gonna lie, that brought me a lot of peace. Not gonna lie, brought me a lot of peace. That brought me a lot of peace. All right. Let's get back into this. I feel a lot better after that. Not gonna lie. Man, okay. Today's word. I'm in March. I need to go to May. Yep, there we go. Let's go over Proverbs chat. So Proverbs 14:26-27. Those who fear the Lord are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. And fear the Lord is like a life-giving fountain. It offers escape from the snares of death. Ooh. Is that not a testimony, boy? It offers escape from the snares of death, boy, because goodness gracious. Oh man. Okay, so the word today, chat, we read these chapters, right? So we're going to go over the chapters that we read tonight. So Judges 21, nope, wrong, 1. Did I turn too many pages? I did, I had to. Because we're not reading from Judges, we're in Ruth now. So, we're in Ruth. Yep, so Ruth 2:1-4, going through verse 22. We also read from John 4:43-54, Psalms 105, 16-36, and then wrap up tonight's read with Proverbs 14, 26-27. But this is the word for today, right? Let's be selfless today. You know, we think a lot about ourselves a lot, right? So a lot of times we surround our life revolves around, or we believe the world revolves around us, right? Let's work on being a little more selfless, right? Let's work on being a little more selfless. It's not always about us, right? It's not always about you. Let's work on being a little more selfless, right? That really is the word for today. Let's just work on being a little more selfless, you know? Because it's not always about you. It's not always about you. Somebody's not always trying to attack you. It's not always about you, you know? So let's work on being a little more selfless. And maybe that might be what breaks the chain. You know, maybe that's what breaks the chain, you know? So let's work on being a little more selfless. I don't really have much else today. I'm not gonna lie. That's just what came, right? Let's work on being a little more selfless. Remember, it's not always about you. Remember that somebody's not always trying to attack you. And maybe that might break that last chain that needs to be broken. Remembering that it's not always about you. Let's have that selfless love for everybody. You know, let's be a little more selfless. For sure. That's the word for tonight, man. That's the word for tonight. That's the word for tonight. I'm gonna check myself too, man. I'm gonna make sure I'm being a little more selfless. But it's not always about me. Definitely. Definitely. I hear your word. I hear your word for sure. All right. Yeah. That's the word for tonight, man. You know. So let's not take things so personally. You know. It's not an attack on you or your character. Hey, what's up, Drex? How you doing, man? Welcome to the chat. It's not an attack on you or your character. You know, let's get past that part and move on from that type of behavior. And let's be a little more selfless. Because it's not always about you. For sure. And I hope you enjoyed today's read tonight, chat. This was the 1 Year Bible Day, 127 in a row. Facts. Change is real, bro. That's facts. That's facts, Dre. That's a fact, bro. That's a fact right there, man. Your past does not define you. Change is real. You got the chance. You allowed today, you got a chance. You got a chance to change. You know, you allowed today. Yesterday is the past. You know, right now is what matters. You got a chance. That's bars right there, man. That's bars. Those are bars right there, Drakes. Thank you for joining. Thank you for stopping by the chat. Since you're new here, you get to see this outro for the first time, right? So we're gonna hit this outro. We all got that limitless core, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for giving me the most precious thing you could give me, which is you. And I'm just extremely grateful for your presence. I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your night. Proverbs 21, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whoever is deceived thereby is not wise. Okay, I'm not screenshot this. Take some time and read that, and ask for clarity and wisdom and discernment on that one, you know? So I'm gonna go back and read that one. But me and my bro left by our folks young and raised by Grams and Pure Course. Does sound like you're rapping, but you know, this is a true statement. Even if this came from a movie, which it may have come from a movie, because I'm not gonna. It sounds like South Central LA, that movie. But oh man, you guys are hilarious. Oh man, it's hilarious. And hopefully hopefully you're being serious. You never know. You never know with chat, bro. You never know. So no offense. Hopefully no offense. If you're telling the truth, hopefully no offense. I'm not laughing at you. But this sounds like South Central LA. But that is a fact. I grew up in the streets, and the streets don't love nobody. The streets don't love nobody. I got a lot of homies who love the streets. The streets ain't love them though. So. But regardless, hope y'all have a great rest of y'all night. I hope to see you again next time. Peace. I'm a little tired.